My name is Rebecca Rainsberger with Aging Smart Educational Workshops. Today's workshop is covering transitions and downsizing. We cover downsizing tips, eldercare placement, professional home sale options, and first, you're going to hear from me, Rebecca Rainsberger, the licensed reverse mortgage loan officer. My NMLS number is 582973. I'm going to be covering purchase, reverse mortgage purchase. I'll cover a little bit about reverse mortgage basics, but you're going to be learning possibly something that might be a good benefit for you. I have been in the reverse mortgage business since 2007, exclusively reverse mortgage. I have been through the ups and downs of the mortgage market, and I've seen sometimes people call me a little bit interested in what the heck really is reverse mortgage. So I'd like to give you some basics on that. It did start in the early 1960s, but FHA, Federal Housing Administration, did take over in the late 80s, and it became a completely different program, pretty much. And the actual name of reverse mortgage now through FHA is home equity conversion mortgage. That is a little bit long to say, so most people still end up calling it reverse mortgage. But the changes FHA made was one of the big ones is they created a non-recourse loan, and that applies in reverse mortgage purchase too. It basically means when you do a reverse mortgage purchase, when the loan is due, you will truly never ever owe more than your house is worth. So a regular mortgage, you'd be paying off what you still owed on your mortgage if you were to sell your house. In reverse mortgage, for some reason, if your loan is greater than your home value, you walk away from it. You owe nothing. If your kids or your heirs inherit your house and they see this bill, they know your house won't appraise for that much, they can walk away from it. So it's absolutely a sigh of relief. You're not giving them a debt. Most of the time here in Washington, I cover Washington State, most of the time here in Washington, the homes are always in pretty good value, a nice growth rate here. So anyway, FHA changed that, made it a non-recourse loan. The loan is tax-free. Most people are shocked to hear that, but it's money you've already created in your equity that you're using in a reverse mortgage or a reverse purchase. There's no monthly payments. That's probably the most famous attribute. There's no monthly payments no matter what. Compared to the 60s, there was some changes there. So thank goodness FHA did that. You can make monthly payments, and there is no prepayment penalty either. Basically, the balance is due when the borrower permanently leaves the house. And if there's two people on the loan, both have to be permanently gone for the loan to be due. It is mandatory with a reverse mortgage through FHA that you pay your home insurance and your property taxes. That has to stay accurate or up to date, or there can be a foreclosure. Now, there's a few other myths about reverse mortgage. One of them is people think the bank owns the house. No, you stay on title. Absolutely no bank involved on title. Some people think the reverse mortgage affects your Social Security, your Medicare, pension. Absolutely not. And some people also think you have to own your home outright to do a regular reverse mortgage. No, I'd say a good 50% of my clients are doing reverse mortgage to get rid of their existing mortgage. That's one of the mandatory laws FHA established, that you do have to pay off your existing mortgage with the reverse mortgage. And whatever money is left over, you can do whatever you want. You could even buy a vacation house if you had enough. There's no rules about that. There are folks who do not have a mortgage and they're just doing it for an extra security of income. The money can come to you as a monthly income. It could be in a line of credit that grows, or it could be a combination, or it could be some cash up front with the all cash up front. It all depends on the rate you pick. So qualifications, you do need to be 62 years old. The youngest is 62. And you could be married to someone, we call that an eligible non-borrowing spouse who is younger than 62, but at least one of you has to be. And there's no age limit. I had a client the other day that thought you couldn't do reverse mortgage if you were over 80. No, you just have to be at least 62. And the other qualifications is the rates. It's how we figure your amount you make is because of the rates. And you have to do reverse mortgage on your house. It has to be your primary residence. You have to be living there at least 51% of the year. And there is some financial assessments we do have to do in regard to that. Now, how much you receive. Okay. Overall, you have to think of having at least 50 to 60% of equity in your home. That's the basic one. You can always make a phone call and ask. But if you have about 50 or 60% of equity in your home, it's worth the call. I'll be honest, the younger you are, the less money you receive. The older you are, the more money you receive. So it does depend on age, the rates, and how much your house is appraised for. So if you don't know really currently what the statement says, your assessment card that you get every year, that's pretty accurate, but usually it's a little bit more than that. So it's always good to call and talk to someone like me about that. You're responsible for paying your home insurance and your property taxes, maintaining your property. What that means, if a tree falls on it and it's damaged part of your roof, you need to get that fixed. You have to comply with the terms just like regular mortgage. And once again, there's no mortgage payments. What happens? When is the loan due? Well, when you permanently are not in your house. Now, maybe you sold it. Okay, then you pay off the loan after you sell it, or during the sale price, during the when it's sold, you pay off the loan. Then what if you were permanently moved into an assisted living or a skilled nursing community? Then you would need to pay off the loan because you're no longer permanently living in your house. Also, if you passed away, then your heirs whoever inherits your house would decide, do I want to keep it or do I want to sell it? If they wanted to sell it, they would see a statement comes to you every single month on what you owe, and it would show you, oh, this is how much is due now. If my house sold for this much more, I would get some profit. But if they knew the way the market was, it wasn't going to sell more than what you owe, it's a non-recourse loan. You never owe more than your house is worth. But if the house was valued less than you owe and the heirs wanted to keep the house, they could. They paid 95% of the appraised value, not the balance of the loan if it's higher. Okay, basically, you have heard everything about the basics of reverse mortgage. I want to talk about reverse purchase. It's a loan that actually combines a reverse mortgage in a way, and the amount you sell your house for. I'll make it a little clearer. To buy your next primary home with a reverse mortgage, it is a single transaction. For an example, you sell your house, you're gonna move to a smaller house. Maybe you want a house with no stairs and a small yard or something of that nature, or a house closer to where your grandchildren live. And the house you're looking at is $500,000. You know, I'm going to do a reverse purchase on this. How much would you have to put down? Depends on your age. The older you are, the more you'd have to put down. The less you'd have to put down. The younger you are, the more. So I'll just say, if you're 65 and you're looking at a house for $500,000, and say you sold your house and you walked with about $300,000 in your hand, you could actually buy a $500,000 house. At 65, you would have to put down $291,000 and have no mortgage payments And this is all in a single transaction. If you're 70 and you're looking at that $500,000 house, you would only have to put down 273, 74. If you were 85 looking at that $500,000 house, you would only have to put down about 214. Okay, let's talk one more time about a house value. What if you're buying a $300,000 house? At 65, you would put down 175,000. So some people in the financial planning world are considering this, because if you had $300,000 cash from the sale of your house and you bought another $300,000 house but only had to put down 175, you would have a very nice savings account there. $125,000 would go in your savings. So sometimes think about this. You also have no mortgage payments on top of it. But at 65, a $300,000 house, 175. If 70 years old, you'd only put down 166, around there. And if you're 85, you put down 130. We also have homes that are over the $1 million. It's a $1 to $4 million home loan. It's proprietary loan. And it is, the amount you have to put down is comparatively, I'll give you the numbers here just in case you're looking at that $1 million house. If you were 65 wanting to buy a house that's costing $1 million, you would need to put down $644,000. If you're 70, pretty much half. You'd put down 500, a little more, 585 if you're buying $1 million home at 70 years old. I can do all these different kinds of examples. You just give me a call, and don't worry, I can always run the numbers in a few minutes. I'd be happy to help you. But this home must be your primary residence, not your vacation home. You have to live there at least 51% of the year. So please contact me with any questions. My name's Rebecca Rainsberger. I'm happy to pass on this transition downsizing workshop to Beth Rahman. She's an exceptional realtor who can explain some options on selling that you never thought of. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, and welcome to everyone that's watching this. I'm Beth Rahman, and my company is Rahman Home Sales, brokered by eXp Realty. I am a realtor and a real estate investor, so I'm going to give you an overview of both of these options for selling your home today. So first, let's talk about listing your home on the market. This is the traditional way that most people are familiar with selling their home. And I will say, however, about that, if you haven't sold your home within the last couple of years, things change pretty quickly, not just the market in general, but also like the paperwork and legal updates that we get quite often. So that's something to consider. One of the main questions I get asked when I'm meeting with a client to talk about listing their home is, when should they sell their home? The answer I always have for them is whenever you are ready. A lot of people have this idea that spring is the best time or the only time to sell a home, and that's just not true. I think most homes end up selling in June and July. Statistically, they do. And so the offers obviously were coming in a month or 45 days before that. But I think that's really a condition of a lot of people not wanting to list or move or look at houses during the winter months. However, in this area up here, Gig Harbor area, Pierce County in general, I see a strong market all year round, and it is an easy time to list a home any time of the year. I've sold homes every year in October, November, and December. I just helped a buyer this last November purchase a home, and a client that sold a home that closed right after the beginning of the year because of some changes with the excise tax. So that was in his benefit. But so really, when you're looking at selling your home, it's just a matter of what your timing is. So consider that instead of what everybody else says is the best time to sell. You'll have a lot less competition if you're listing at other times of the year. And we are in a seller's market, which means that there are fewer homes available than there are buyers for. So that makes it a strong market any time of the year as well. Another thing that you need to consider when you are thinking about purchase or selling your home, listing your home to sell, is how much work you want to do before you list the home or to get it market ready, as we say. Now, when I'm meeting with a client and walking through the home for the first time to find the condition and everything so that I can put together some market analysis and a reasonable listing price for that particular home, I always have this discussion with the clients where I'm looking for things in the home that might be called out from an inspection during that purchase process, and definitely things that might be issues for an appraiser. And so that really depends on what kind of a loan a buyer might be coming, but general overviews is things like looking at the roof. If the roof is nearing the end of its life, you know, kind of that 20, 25-year mark, that might be something I discuss with the clients as to, do they want to list the home right now or list the home? If they want to fix the roof now, or if they don't have the funds for that, would rather wait, we can make that part of the sale process, whether we wait for the buyer to make that an inspection request, or if we have comments in the listing that say the roof will be done, but just prior to closing, then my client can pay that roofer out of those net proceeds from the sale. So it's kind of a general discussion about what work is most likely to have to be done to sell the home, but there is definitely an as-is price for every home, a listing price. You don't have to do work on the home just to get it listed. I've had many clients that have approached me being very disturbed from brokers coming to them and saying, in order to list this home, all you have to do is completely paint everything inside the home and put all new flooring in. Well, that's an easy $5,000 or $6,000 expense that isn't necessary. Every home has an as-is price, which means that as long as the comps are available for that home, it's not unique or out in some rural area that there aren't any comparable properties for, we can find a reasonable listing price for that home in its as-is condition. So think of it this way, that if your home is all original 70s inside, you haven't updated it at all, you know, that has an actual listing price. And we're going to look at the other homes that are also an original, maybe 60s, 70s, 80 condition, and see what they've sold for in the same area. And of course, with all the other bedrooms and bathrooms and square footages being similar. So you don't have to do work to put the home on the market. That's my point, I guess. Some of my clients have wanted to put work into the home and get it just perfect to make it a really quick and easy sell. And if that's what they want to do, that's great. There's a good chance that a home is going to have multiple offers, even if it's not fixed up. But either way, it's up to my client as to what they want to do and what they're comfortable with. Another thing to think about and to consider, and I think it's probably the most important part of getting ready to list your home, is what broker or realtor are you going to get to sell the home for you? And you are hiring this broker or realtor to sell your home. So I think it should be, you know, similar to a job interview where you want to make sure that, you know, they're professional and that they are going to communicate well with you, as well as I think it's very important that they should be a full-time broker. And what I mean by full-time is not necessarily a 40-hour-a-week kind of thing like, you know, we think of a 9-to-5 job, but there are a lot of brokers that have licenses that don't do more than 1 or 2 transactions an entire year. So they kind of use real estate like a hobby. They list homes for family or friends, and that's it. Now, my caution about using someone like this is that they're not going to be most up to date on the legal issues or any of the changes with paperwork or anything else that we've had happen in the market recently. So that's just something to consider. Another thing when deciding what realtor or broker you're going to use is designations. So there are a lot of classes that we can take that we can get designations for. One of them is a senior real estate specialist, an SRES designation. And this is about a 5-hour class online, and it covers some of the generational differences and things like that, but it's not a really in-depth class. Like how could it be after only 5 hours? So if it's really important to you to use someone that's connected to the elder care community, like a group like Aging Smart, then you're going to look for someone that has experience working with seniors, not just some designation. I would say the same thing is true if you're trying to sell a commercial property, where you are looking for someone that not only has a commercial designation, but they've actually done that and they have experience in doing commercial properties. That would be important. So same thing is just looking for the right broker that matches what your needs are, and you are interviewing them. So be clear about what it is you're looking for and what you expect from them. I think that's important. All right, so the other way to sell your home is an off-market sale to a real estate investor. And this is an easy private way to sell a home. It is a cash offer. So you should make sure that if you are working with someone, an investor, that they're not getting any kind of loan for the purchase with a traditional lender. Sometimes they're using a private lender, but that is called a hard money loan. So that's different. That's still viewed as cash in the lending world. What we don't want to see is paperwork that has a financing, excuse me, a financing contingency in, and no lender, traditional lender involved, because that slows up the process. And the whole point of an off-market sale to a real estate investor is that it's easy and private and quick. So the second thing that's offered with an off-market purchase is that it is an as-is purchase. Like we talked about the market listing being as-is, it's going to be priced to be as-is. This is always an as-is. There is no repair work or any kind of work to be done by the seller. So that makes it a really easy transaction, and all of that work is obviously put into the renovation budget that investor is going to be doing after the purchase. Another really popular part of the off-market purchase is leaving behind all the unwanted items that you have in the home. So how this works is my clients are usually working with a downsize or transition manager, and they will help them pick out what it is that they're taking to their new location, whether it's, you know, moving out of state to live closer to kids, or if they're moving into a retirement community, or even purchasing a manufactured home in a park. There's going to be some sort of downsizing that needs to be done. And so the move manager can come in and actually figure out what needs to be moved to the new place and what's important to that client. And so that client takes those things and everything else gets left behind. I've had homes that have had literally a whole garage. It was about a 2 or 3 car garage filled with just garbage bags, actual bags of garbage. They couldn't make it to the curb and that sort of thing. And hoarder homes, things like that. So it really, really helps my clients to be able to just leave behind all that extra stuff that they don't need. And it's not always garbage. Sometimes just extra furniture that gets donated, but my clients don't have to deal with that. And nor would any clients working with any real estate investor. And then the last thing that is really beneficial with these off-market purchases is that you get to pick the closing date. So this is really important when you don't necessarily know what the timing is of your next move. So you can already have sold the home, the paperwork's done, and now you're just waiting for maybe that cottage to become available at the retirement community, or maybe your home to close on the purchase of a new, you know, a smaller home or a manufactured home in a park. Whatever it may be. I have had clients that are moving out to Arizona, and so they had to get out there and find a place before they could sell this home. So we just wait until you are ready and you know the closing date, and then we'll just close at that same time, whether it's right before so that you can get those cash funds and send them off to the new purchase, whatever it is that you need. So at this point, I usually get asked, what's the catch? It sounds a little too good to be true, making it so easy and private. And I will say the catch is that you're not usually going to get market value for the home. So like we talked about that as-is listing price, that's not usually the same cash price that you're going to get for the off-market purchase. It is a discounted price. There is no set discount though. Every investor figures out their numbers a different way. And when I'm working with clients, and how I work the numbers is kind of backwards. So I have to figure out what that home can sell for after it's all renovated. And then I have to, take out the costs associated with that. So the big one, of course, is how much it's going to cost to do that renovation, and then the holding costs, things like that. So once those costs come out, it's actually just a mathematical formula, and it tells me this is how much I can pay for that home. And now, because I am a realtor and a real estate investor, I always show my clients both options. I will show them how much they net from a market sale in an as is, so that it's similar, as well as how much they will get net proceeds from the cash offer, and then they can compare those two. And really, the price has to make sense for what the seller is looking for and the value that they see in those actual services. So it's the easy sale, it's private, and it's a less stressful home sale, and it's quicker oftentimes. So I've worked with clients that have, it was an estate sale, and there were errors all over the US, and so no one was local, and so that just made more sense for them to do a cash sale, because they didn't have the time or really the desire to work on listing the home, getting it ready to list and having to deal with those different stages. It's much easier to just deal with really signing the initial papers, and then there's nothing else to be done until the closing date that you pick. You sign those final papers. So that made it easy for them. I've had clients that had completely renovated homes that just did not like the privacy issue. They did not want anybody in their home before it sold, and so that makes it very difficult, as you can imagine, to list on the market. So they understood that they were taking a discounted price, and I showed them the difference in the net proceeds, but that service of a private home sale made it worth it to them. So, excuse me. I hope this was helpful information for you, and feel free, of course, to get a hold of me at any time with any kind of questions. Now let's hear from Michelle, who is an excellent Eldercare Placement advisor.
Thank you, Beth. That I am so happy that you could join us today, and hopefully you're finding the information beneficial so far. Oh. And there I am, hopefully. And so I am with First Choice Advisory Services, and what we do is housing and care placement when you're no longer safe at home. And how do we do that? What we do is that we meet with our clients. What we do is find out what their medical needs are. That could be that they are needing assistance at night, that they need somebody to help them with bathing. It just depends on what their disease is and what that disease process looks like for them. That what we also take into consideration is their financial, that what kind of funds do they have? Are they going to be looking at Medicaid in the future? Do they have long-term care insurance? Maybe they're for veteran benefits, things that people may not consider and think about. The other piece is their social needs, which is just as important. That what's important to them socially? Is it having a garden out back? Is it making sure that other people can play cards with them? That there's lots of things that are very important that we need to make sure are considered during that. And also what a long-term solution may be for them as they're looking at assisted living, adult family homes, memory care, or other home care options. What will help them stay in place as long as possible based on what their disease is or how their condition is today. Who can access it? That it can be adult children, can be the power of attorney, guardians. It could be yourself that you're looking at options. So what we do is that we also, we can be accessible on the internet. You can contact us via phone, or you can a lot of times the social worker, discharge planner, somebody at the hospital is the one that's helping you with this decision making. Unfortunately, a lot of people have unplanned visits to the skilled nursing, and they have been given a 72-hour notice to say, what other options are you going to look at? So what we are is almost basically like a real estate agent, is that we're going to go out there and look who can meet that care needs, who can meet those financial needs, and who has availability for them, especially today if that's what they're looking for. And so we are going to be out there advocating for you and your families to find that next best fit, but also be the advisors for you. That oftentimes people don't know what to look for. People don't know the difference in the terminology. Healthcare can be overwhelming at times, and what we can do is help hold your hand during that process. One thing to look for as you are working with advisors, like I said, oftentimes you can go on the internet and search it. What I recommend is finding somebody local. Find somebody that has visited those adult family homes or those assisted livings, those options for you. There are some larger internet options, but they haven't necessarily maybe been there. So do a little bit of research. I do recommend somebody close and local to your home as they are looking at it. And what they'll do is give you those options. They also, just to let you know, is that everybody should request that you receive a disclosure of their services and you sign off on it. So don't be surprised if you're requested to do that for them. What the advisor's role specifically is just really meeting with you, earning your trust, and finding out what those care needs are. What they'll do also is coordinate the tours for you. They will let you know what might be available and then actually schedule that time to go and visit those communities. Pre-COVID, that actually a lot of times the advisor would actually go accommodate you on those tours. Today we're not. Oftentimes we're able to get virtual tours, get pictures, give you history, give you references for those places right now, and give you also that peace of mind. That also we're going to coordinate the process from start to finish, that you don't know whether you need to get an assessment. How do I get mom's medications there? How do I get all of her belongings there? We are here to connect you with other resources in the community to find out what those, how to make that happen for them. And we're going to provide that support through the entire process. And how much does this cost? Just to let you know that we are actually a free service to families, that we receive our funding actually from the partners in our community. And we have been around for over 27 years. We have great partners in the community, and so we can actually find out lots of great options for you. A lot of people don't know, as we're looking at housing and care options, that Medicare, Medicaid, they get confused during that process. Who is actually going to pay for it? And we can actually help the family through that process as well and help them understand as far as what that may look like for them. Again, I am Michelle with First Choice Advisory Services, Housing and Care Advisor. That again, we're the free service for families, and we are just here to hold your hand from start to finish as you are trying to make that transition into a safer option for you or your loved one. And so next I have Tina Burrell. She is an awesome downsizing specialist, and she is going to give you some tips on how to do that once you've made that decision.
Hello there. Tina with Monarch Transitions here to give you some tips about downsizing. So whether you are preparing to make a move soon or just kind of want to get something going while you're in quarantine, or maybe you just kind of want to get started now that spring's arriving, we give you some tips and see if that'll help you kind of get started. So if someone gave you a proven recipe that was guaranteed to succeed, would you make up your own ingredients or would you follow it? What I'll be sharing with you today is a proven recipe. As a senior move manager, I have worked with dozens and hundreds of people moving to smaller quarters. I promise that you will follow these steps and you will save money on your move and reduce stress as you prepare for your move. Who wouldn't want to follow a recipe that could do all of that? This recipe for downsizing has 10 ingredients or steps. And while they don't always need to be done in the sequence, they all need to be done. So here's the recipe. Step 1, in baking, is to gather your ingredients. So step 1 in downsizing is to develop a move plan, a picture of everything you'll need to accomplish to deal with your belongings and implement your move. You need to sort through your belongings, identify what was going with you, and find solutions for all the things not going with you. You'll have to develop a floor plan, find movers you can trust, get packing supplies, or find a way to have your belongings safely packed. In addition to listing the ingredients required, many recipes tell you at the beginning how much time it will take. So you know how early you need to start. This recipe does that too. Plan about 100 hours, yes, 100 hours for sorting through and making decisions about your belongings. This means identifying and documenting what goes with you and what will go to other places and where. You'll need another 20 hours or so to address selling, donating, or disposing of items not going with you. If all your decisions have been made in advance and you have all the right supplies, packing and unpacking will take about 40 to 60 hours, and you'll probably have somewhere between 50 to 120 cartons or boxes. If this sounds like a lot of work and a lot of time, well, it is. You spent decades accumulating your things, you didn't accumulate them overnight, and it takes time to go through them and make decisions. But knowing the big picture is a good thing because now you know when to start, and the time to start is now. Step number 2 is to think strategic. Chances are your home is your biggest single asset, so you want to get the most you can when you sell it. How many people have sold their car? And what did you do to get your car ready to be sold? You removed everything personal, cleaned it thoroughly inside and out. When you drove your car, you may have used a back pillow in the back seat, kept CDs, electronics, tissues, a first aid kit, and other things in the car. But in order to sell it, you removed all of that. So the only thing the buyer saw was the car itself. What about your house? Are you selling a used house or a gently pre-owned domicile? Most people spend more time getting their car ready to be sold than they do their house. If you're willing to clean out and declutter your car to get the most of it, it certainly makes sense to do as much for your house. The buyer of your current home is likely to be 25 to 40. This is a generation that grew up on IKEA, Pottery Barn, and Martha Stewart. When they look for a new home, they will go to the internet and search. They will look at photos the realtor has posted on the internet and will make appointments to see those homes that appeal to them emotionally. In other words, your house has to appeal emotionally to this young buyer, not to you. So what does working strategically mean? It means doing first things first. If your realtor wants to list the home for sale in 1 month, your focus might be on decluttering closets, bedrooms, and rooms on the first floor. You may have an attic full of things, but these don't have to be sorted before you list your home. You focus on the areas that will be in the photos, because this is what will bring prospective buyers to your door. Once your house is on the market, then you can address the basement, attic, and garage. Step 3 is to develop a scaled floor plan. A floor plan helps you visualize your current belongings in your new home and determine what will fit. It is important that the floor plan be drawn to scale. Floor plans drawn by hand indicate where you want your furniture to go, but not whether it will fit. A scaled floor plan removes the guesswork from moving and avoids costly and stress-producing mistakes. Determining scale and making sure that everything is consistent can be tricky. Don't feel badly if it gives you trouble. That's why we use a scaled floor planning system. When we envision a move, there's a hierarchy of how we approach it. Much of us need to have the big picture before we can focus on sorting through belongings. The floor plan provides that big picture and then leads the way to other decisions. For example, let's say you plan to take your china cabinet, but not the buffet. We may ask, what about the 2 sets of dishes that are in the buffet? Oh, I am taking them, you may reply, and we'll ask, well, where do you plan to put them since the buffet is not going? What if your move is far in the future or you don't know where you will be moving? You may be wondering, can I still downsize and declutter? Absolutely. But for many people, the floor plan is the reality check that gives them incentive to let go. Step number 4, downsizing, preparing your home for sale, and preparing to move doesn't have to occupy every minute of your day. So for many of you, your move is months, even years away. If you follow this downsizing recipe, you can get it done within 15 minutes per day. How, you may ask? Well, You break bigger tasks into smaller ones. Take a kitchen, for example. Sorting through your kitchen is a big job, but not if you break it down into 15-minute chunks. So sort through your spices in one day. The next day, baking pans. A third day, coffee mugs and thermoses. Let's take your spices. So how many of you have spices in McCormick tins? Other than pepper, McCormick hasn't produced spices in tins since 1999. So if you have any spice tins, they are probably 22 years old. Here's another tip that can take no time at all to do. And it's a great reality check. When you move your clothes for change of season, turn all the hangers in one direction. It doesn't matter which direction, as long as they're all the same. First time you wear something that season, turn the hanger the other direction when you hang it back up. At the end of the season, what will you have learned? You will find out what you haven't worn the whole season. Step number 5 is sort, don't pack. One of the first things people do when they decide to move is start packing. Why? Because packing a box is much more fun than sorting through your garage or your everything drawer. For many people, packing is a way of avoiding decision making. How many of you think you're moving this year? Maybe next year, or in 2022, or beyond. If you can pack something now and not need it until you move, do you need it at all? Sometimes people say, I have access to my new apartment before the move, and I'll save money by taking things over gradually. I don't recommend this. When things move little by little, it's hard to get a handle on how much you're really taking. The task that really needs to get done in advance is sorting. What happens when sorting is not done by pack day? It costs more. Because packing is inefficient and you take more than you really want or can fit. Which clients have the lowest invoices when they move? The ones who have finished sorting. Step number 6 is to do reality checks. Sometimes a client will say, there's a huge walk-in closet in the master bedroom. All my clothes will fit there, plus a dresser, and I can put my file cabinet in the second bedroom closet. A reality check is where you measure the space in your new home and compare it to how much space you really need. For example, let's say you have 20 linear feet of hanging space in your new apartment. We measure the linear feet of clothing in your current home. That includes the clothing in your master bedroom, in the second bedroom, in the third bedroom, the hall closet, the cedar closet, the attic, and the basement, and so on. If your clothing takes 30 linear feet, you'll need every inch of the second bedroom closet for clothes. You won't have room for a dresser in the closet. You may need to have rods double hung. Another area where reality checks are helpful is the storage bin or storage closet. All my suitcases and holiday decorations are going in the storage bin, and then my file cabinets. And I'm having a rack built out of season clothing. Sometimes we measure the storage bin and put tape representing the size of the floor of your current home. So you can visualize how much the storage bin will be able to hold. Reality checks don't necessarily provide bad news. They may demonstrate that your downsizing is on target. Reality checks are a tool you can use to minimize moving costs, avoid unpleasant surprises, and most importantly, be in control. Speaking of control, step number 7 is about taking control. So how many of you are warehousing things that belong to your adult children? In our experience, adult children don't respond to subtlety. It's time to take control and tell your children they need to take their things now. One client found a solution. She put the cartons of things that belonged to her children in her car, drove to her children's house, and dropped them off while the children were at work. Be firm. Give your children a deadline and stick to it. You have plenty of downsizing to do without having to deal with their belongings as well. Step number 8 is design your move. There's no rule that you need to move one day and unpack the next, or that you need to sell your house before you can move. Vacant houses sell successfully every day. If the thought of getting your house ready to be listed overwhelms you, if you don't want prospective buyers coming in your home while you're still living there, you can move first and then list your house. That approach may be easier for you instead of deciding what to do with everything in your home. You're simply deciding new home or not new home. After you move, you can return and deal with the things that are left. For many people, this approach is less stressful. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm simply saying you have choices and design the move that works for you. Here's some other examples. Let's say you take medications that cause you to be groggy in the morning. Then arrange your move-related activities to occur in the afternoon. If the thought of a move day terrifies you and you prefer not to be present at all, go on vacation during your move. Senior move managers can take care of everything for you, and you can come back to a fully furnished, unpacked new home with beds made, kitchen set up. You can even have orange juice and refrigerator. We call this I'd rather be on vacation move plan. Getting there, step number 9 is to forgive yourself. On move day, you may put an empty soda can in the trash instead of in recycling. You recycle 364 days of the year. It's not a crime to put soda in the trash. You will find great solutions for many of the items not going with you. There may be some you don't get to and end up donated or getting discarded, and it's okay. Remember that there is no such thing as too good to donate. Nonprofits, thrift stores support charities by selling items. The better their merchandise, the more they can contribute to the charities they support. So as you downsize, prepare for your move, you will make hundreds of decisions and you will do a good job. And you may not accomplish all that you had hoped to, but forgive yourself, it's okay. The 10th step is to hire a senior move manager to help. We provide hands-on help so you can be in control, but not have the physical burdens associated with downsizing and moving. So most of all, we are objective professionals. Monarch Transitions in particular is insured and bonded and is a member of the National Association of Senior Move Managers, or NASM. This means we agree to abide by the NASM Code of Ethics. And so senior move managers can develop a detailed move plan and a timeline, develop a scaled floor plan, provide hands-on help for sorting and decluttering, provide resources for selling and donation, stage your home for a quick sale, refer movers you can trust, pack and unpack your belongings. So we provide a free, no obligation home visit that is typically 1 to 2 hours long. You own your stuff doesn't own you. Please don't let the thought of dealing with your belongings prevent you from moving to an environment where you will thrive. Thank you so much for your time, and have any questions? There will be a list of the presenters and their contact info following me. So please take care, stay safe, have a great rest of your year.